Sentinel is known to be reliable, fearless, disciplined, consistent, courageous, motivated, and skillful.
So do what you feel passionate about. Take chances.
All these qualities start from the mind. Your mind can be your worst enemy or your most powerful weapon.
The world becomes your library to help you to become better at your craft.
Is this the dagger?
Learn how to achieve greatness and tap into the Sentinel Mindset.
This episode is brought to you by The Arena. The Arena focuses on helping law enforcement and security professionals achieve their ultimate work experience, curriculum, and fitness goals. Visit thearenatoronto.com.
What's up, everyone? Good morning and welcome to this wonderful, wonderful special edition of the Sentinel Mindset. I am your host, Constantine, and in the back we have our wonderful producer, Mr. Matthew Doyle. Matthew, how are you doing, buddy?
Amazing. Happy to be here.
Amazing. So look, guys, today we're going to talk about the world of executive protection. Now, you're not going to hear me talking a lot about it. I'm just going to give you my opening thoughts. We're going to hear it from an amazing individual that I got a chance to meet when I was in Vegas. And, you might be wondering, well, who exactly is this person that you met? Well, I'm buying time right now to find that person because I want to make sure I do his name justice. And that is Mr. Michael Julian from A.L.I.V.E. Now, what exactly does A.L.I.V.E. stand for? Outside of being alive and having a pulse, that's not what it is. It's A.L.I.V.E., which is Active Shooter Survival Training. And I had a chance to listen to Mike's incredible presentation. And right after the show, or the talk, I went right up to him, Matthew, and I asked him a couple of questions that, look, a lot of times when I'm asking these questions, I know the answers to, but I'm very intrigued by people's response because I don't want this ever coming across that this is my opinion. There's a universal opinion when it comes to the work of executive protection. Now, I'll ask you, Matthew, because you're obviously in the realms of security. And for those listening, executive protection, also known as close protection, we use that term more in Canada in the British ecosystem, is a division under the security threshold. Okay, and we have a lot of people that when they apply to this company, because we do have an executive protection division and we do quite a bit of that work, that they all come in and say, man, I saw your website, I want to do that, right? And it's like, okay, well, we need to find out, first of all, what your background is, because that is the one thing, Matthew, I'll tell you this right now, for anyone looking to jump into any career, it's going to be like, I want to be a dentist. Now, let me ask you a question first, Matt. If you decided you wanted to be a dentist, do you think after 2 days of training that you would be able to successfully remove a cavity and fill it?
God, no. I can't even comprehend that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the reason why I gave that example is because there's a lot of programs that we've even put through in the past, but they're more introductory programs. And people will come in and they'll do these 2 days of training in a workshop capacity, and they're like, okay, that's it, guys. Let me start doing my training right now. Let me start, not my training, let me start doing the work. And usually they're very surprised when they don't, because all they did was get an introduction, right? And I think it's very important for people to understand that when you're walking into an industry, into a opportunity or a career like executive protection, this is a high level position. And you need to have the highest level of training and skill, or else you will fail 100%. And I can talk about stories and examples that this actually happened. In fact, anyone listening right now in the executive protection game can always reference an example. But what the purpose of today's episode is, we want you to hear words of Michael Julian. Now, as you know, we do a lot of work with police services. And many of our people have moved on into policing. When people do find out about the world of executive protection, specifically police officers, they're like, man, I love to do that. And the folly here is that people that are looking to come in from a law enforcement background into executive protection usually find that they fail if they're given that opportunity because of how different of a world it is.
It is completely different.
Let me ask you, Matthew, just because I've been talking a little bit right now, when it comes to executive protection, what do you think executive protection means?
How I imagine close executive protection is like you're someone's bodyguard. That direct close protection with that one person consistently. You're observing the environment, the situation, the people around to better ensure that the individual, your client, the VIP, is protected.
Okay, that's good. That's a good answer. You're hired. No, so look, so the thing right now that I think I'd love for you guys to hear, and as we hear Mike talk about this, is if you truly want to get into this industry, if you truly want to come in and basically dive in, is what I like to say, you need to know this world. And you need to make sure you have the right training for this world. And feel free to reach out to us, thearenatoronto.com. More than happy to guide people into entities that teach this. Because the one thing I want to make sure you understand, there's a lot of people that profess that they can teach people on this course or executive protection. It's not something that's really governed, right? In Canada, nobody really governs that course. It's kind of like a free-for-all. So the person that ends up putting the course together, it's really based on their experience and their reputation that makes it credible. So if you are searching to get into this industry and you do want to be guided, we're more than happy to guide you. A lot of our recommendations will be in the US. We do also have some incredible entities further west in Canada that I can talk to about that do have this, and even some here in Toronto. I'd be more than happy to share that with people. But the reality is this: you have to invest in yourself. If this is the world you want to walk into, you got to learn it, you got to invest in yourself, and then you got to come in prepared to overachieve the situation. Because this is not something that is that simple. It is in many similarities of just common sense, but you want to make sure you're stepping into this world knowing everything that's going to help you win. So without further ado, okay, I release to you and I have you see what we did in Vegas. Lots more of these things coming down the pipe. But let's get ready. Michael Julian in the house. Let's go.
Let's do it.
All right. What's going on, everybody? We're here today. We just heard a talk from Michael Julian from A.L.I.V.E. Now, what is A.L.I.V.E? Assess, leave, impede, violence, and expose. And first of all, thank you for sharing what you shared today.
My pleasure.
It was profound, but I wanted to concentrate on one area. So back home in Toronto, we speak to a lot of police officers that want to get into the executive protection game. However, they want to get in there feeling that the training that they possess already, or maybe they could just jump in because they have this law enforcement cloak. We've seen many situations where they fail because it's just a different world and a different skill. Can you just shed some light on that in your thoughts?
Sure. It is a different skill set. I mean, you don't go from firefighting to law enforcement to military without training for that very specific skill set. So yes, now with law enforcement, there's some training that is a great foundation, like, you know, whether it's with guns or not with guns, or situational awareness, which I teach. That's something that's big in law enforcement and military. The average citizen's not going to know that right off the bat until they're taught that. So, you know, and even in different sections and disciplines of executive protection, you need training from one thing to the next. You know, just being a close protection guy does not make you an advanced guy.
Right.
So, yes, going from law enforcement to EP or going from military to EP, great foundation. You're ahead of the game, but you've got to build on that with the specific skill sets that go with executive protection.
Okay, that's great. The mindset of basically coming into this field of executive protection, and you talked about situational awareness. Let me ask you, how much does like human ego sometimes get in the way?
Jesus.
Get in the way of that?
The human ego is probably our greatest enemy. We stand in our way more than anybody else does. I went through Executive Protection Institute 20 years ago, and the first thing that Dr. Akobit said to me was, leave your ego at the door, because there's no place in it in executive protection. It will get in the way. It'll hurt relationships. It'll make you look bad to the client. It'll make you look bad to the people watching the client. The ego is something, if you're going to have any form of control over anything, control your ego the most. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, this industry, this profession attracts people with an ego. It's an alpha, you know, an A-type personality attraction that typically comes with a little bit of ego. And as long as that can be controlled, it can be a very good thing if you use it to your advantage. But if it controls you, it'll ruin you.
Okay, that's good, man. So if I'm already a seasoned EP agent, what advice would you give me to continue moving forward and growing and creating opportunities? Like anything at all?
Well, The first thing I'm going to say is never stop learning. Train, 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 drill, practice, train. So never stop learning. Network, get to know people and get to be known. If you want to, a lot of guys are like, they think that being secretive, super secretive is, makes you a good EP agent.
Right.
No, protecting your principles, information and security and all that stuff, that makes a good EP. But it's okay to be on social media as a protector, unless you're going to plan on going undercover or something.
Right.
And you have to be smart about it, of course. Now, in my opinion, I think that training and networking, getting to know people, and your reputation. When I teach business and ethics in EP, I taught that last year.
Okay.
Your reputation, your name is everything in this game, and it's a small industry, man. It's even guys all over the world, we know each other.
Right.
It's very easy to destroy your future in this game if you lack integrity.
Right.
So you got to be ethical at all times, not just on duty all the time. So it's the norm, not the exception.
Okay, that's amazing. Last question. So we talked about a seasoned veteran and how they grow. We're talking about the guy now that's on the outside, or the woman saying, hey, I want to get into this industry. I find a lot of times people jump into industries that they don't properly research. They say, I want to do EP, for example, but they don't entail what the sacrifice, what it is.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone that is looking at jumping in and wants to get in, but maybe doesn't know outside of the research element how to get in? What would you advice would you give that person that wants to become an agent but just doesn't know how to really navigate and go through the process?
I've mentored many people. Great question, and this is what I typically tell them. One, like you said, you nailed it. You better know exactly what you're getting into, because this is not a game. I've done EP my whole life. I wouldn't want to do what a lot of these guys do now. I'm too damn old. It's too hard. My feet hurt after a while.
Right.
Know what you're getting into, and then talk to people, get as much information as you can, and learn about the industry, and then start learning. Be prepared. Be a sponge. Read books. Talk to people. Go to one of the schools. Constantly, just learn as much about it as you can, whether it be advanced, close protection, covert protection, whatever, and your stock will go up.
Okay.
You'll become more valuable to more people, and you'll probably stay employed that way.
Okay, that's great. How do we find out more about what you do if we want to get into your services? I know you're based out of California.
Yep.
So how do we find you?
Okay, so, first of all, the parent company is National Business Investigations, which my dad started in 1967 when he came out of military and law enforcement. He opened a PI and security company. So, NBI, most people know me from MPS Security Protection. That's my security company. We have, we do EP all over the country. And then that's security-mps.com. But for this purpose, A.L.I.V.E Active Shooter Survival Training Program. It's all over the internet, but you can go to activeshootersurvivaltraining.com and learn everything you need to know about the Active Shooter program.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your presentation, everything that you're doing.
You bet. My pleasure.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it, brother.
This podcast is brought to you by Executive Protection Lifestyle Canada. Make sure to drop by next week and don't forget to subscribe.